today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited because on the show today is none other than the Hitchmaster himself, Philly's own Donavan West. I'm excited because he is an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a late night radio host, a Instagram phenomenon on his Wednesdays with Wes on his channel, the Life Script, the Love Script. I'll get it wrong. As you guys know, I do sometimes because I trip over my words, but Donovan's going to get it right for you today because his sage advice has changed my life. If it was not for Donavan, I would not be walking in the best version of myself because I was so closed off and was not willing to let people, places, or things in my life as I held up in my house here trying to be invisible. But Donavan helped me come past that because he is a master coach, counselor, and mentor. I'm so excited to have him with me today on the show. Donavan, welcome to Talk to Me. How are you doing today, sir?
Brenda, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you putting me, in this space and place. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. I hope I can, meet you and the audience's expectation through this dialogue that we're having.
Today I want to talk about all that you are, because like many people, you're not one-dimensional. You are doing so many things. I love it when I go on your Instagram page and see that you are in Ghana, and then the next day you're in Florida. It's like I never know where you are, and it's exciting. Your post the other day when you talked about being with yourself, I was just like, okay, Donavan, look, when do you slow down? When do you rest? With all the people you help, like me and all your many other clients, I'm going to ask you first, when do you take time for yourself and do your self-care?
Well, it's about making sure that for me, it's about, making sure that time itself is very fluid. So you pour it into, different spaces and places or the cracks, but you make sure that there's enough space, right? So it's not like, if you need to, say, for instance, invest a good hour into some form of self-care, you do not look for, 20 minutes here, 17 minutes here. You don't do that. Block it out. Block out an hour and just get into, when I say being fluid about it, it's just, it doesn't have to necessarily take place first thing in the morning. Sometimes it takes place in the evening in terms of, you getting that block of time. But for me, I start off in the morning. I start off first thing in the morning, at least with some semblance of self-care, starting, of course, with my mind and my spirit, so I can get my energy right, so I can have the right lens on. So that's the first thing that I do. Then I get into my day. I don't even look at an email, a text, or anything until I get it all right. Because for me, past experience, as well as in the professional space, I find that what we interpret, all the information around us coming to us, it's all shaped by, how we are looking at it, what we believe and what other things we have going on. So when I get into, all right, it's time to tackle the day, I just need to make sure that the lens is as accurate as possible in terms of how I'm processing information so that it can inform me best on how, to make some decisions, how to respond, all that good stuff.
Well, it works for me because I was clear about needing a morning routine. And by talking to you, I was able to really establish one that served me better, because before I was just kind of getting up, starting my day with really no sense of direction. I thought I had a morning routine, but through your counseling, I was able to really develop one that served me better and helped me to find that center place. When I think about that too, I think about how you talked about sitting with myself, learning to be able to just be by myself. That's something I wasn't able to do before because I really was so busy doing that I wasn't, what do you call? I'm not even sure how to say it, but I was so busy being busy that I really wasn't functioning at my best level because I never took time to just sit with self. With that said, I want to start back with one of your philanthropic endeavors, the way you go to Ghana and help that area. Can you tell people that may not know about what you do, that are hearing about you for the first time?
Yeah. So, Ghana for me is just another way to, as you mentioned, from a philanthropic perspective, another way to give back, another way to build, another way to be a part of a solution. A friend of mine His name is Emil Akalaste. And he and I, we met when we were participating with an organization called the, what do you call it? Black, what is it? Philadelphia, 100 Black Men, Philadelphia chapter. Mm-hmm. And, I was talking about, some of my philanthropic endeavors with some partners of mine in Jamaica. I'm Jamaican. And so the organization is called Caribbean Care Collaborative, and how we adopted a school, and we look to find ways that we can be impactful by engaging with some other stakeholders in Jamaica in order to make it more sustainable. And he loved what I was doing in Jamaica, and then he started to share what he was doing in Ghana. And so I said, you know what? The next time you're going to Ghana, I need to be there. And he was like, yeah, sure, okay. And I knew that what that meant, because so many people often, when you talk about what your philanthropic goals are, objectives, or passions, they often respond with wanting to do something nice, right? But it typically doesn't pan out. And I could tell that he was just like, yeah, sure, okay. But Ghana is not across the street, right? It's not as far as Jamaica, you can fold Jamaica 3 times into the period of time that it takes to get to Ghana. So it's definitely not not the easiest thing to take on. But nonetheless, we met throughout the year. I made a bunch of different donations, and we decided to get it going. Went down there in December last year, 2021, and it was phenomenal, transformational. I mean, the things that we did, from the media tour, the different TV stations where we talked about the different things we were doing, the tournaments, and the visiting various villages, to talking with the chief about the port that was coming, to his village and to the area. We talked about everything from education to trade to entrepreneurship, the whole nine. And it was transformational. Going to the Wheelie waterfalls, to going to Cape Coast, to the slave castle, very spiritual, emotional, physically draining, mentally draining, and exhilarating all at the same time. So we're doing it again this year. I'm doing in partnership with Emil's organization. It's called FIRE, Free Inspiration, Reaching Everyone, as well as a number of other colleagues in different spaces. We're doing a business and tech conference December 9th and 10th in Ghana, alongside Jason, who is an artist. We're going to paint another basketball court. And when we paint it, it's not just like, refreshing it. No, we put images on it. Like the last one was a very strong image of a ball player holding their basketball and with their fists in the air. And we painted the full size of the basketball court, redid the whole thing, and just transformed that community's recreational space. So we're picking another space to do that. We have also some community development endeavors that are underway as well, where we have a plot of land right now for a large mixed-use, facility. It's going to have retail, what else? Recreation and residential. So it's going to have all those different components to it. We've already met with the architect, and we're now onto the fundraising side of it, the capital stack side of it, in terms of pulling in some additional investors to turn that into a state of art reality. So there's just so much happening in that space. And as you can see, I'm extremely excited to play a role in it.
So working with organizations that really promote youth to be their best selves is important to you. And why did that start for you?
Well, I mean, as a Jamaican kid, although I grew up here in the States, the majority of the time I stayed fixated on, where I came from and what this, the state of everything is in terms of, education, in terms of, high levels of poverty and blight and all those things. And so no matter where I'm at, I've always been focused on how can I make an impact? And, for many youth especially, there are a lot of people that may come by and, wave, and say, hey, I understand you're going through some tough times, and this and other, keep your head up. and all the good messaging. But it's temporary. It's an event. So you more than likely that person or organization is doing it for a soundbite, for some PR, for some temporary community engagement, light or highlighting, but not necessarily to really be a part of the solution. So the things that I get involved in is really not to just give an introduction. No, it's to say here's the framework. How can we make this more sustainable? Because the youth really, they got to know that it's not an event, it's a way of life. They have to know that the access to information and resources, mentors, and all that other good stuff, that's a reality for them. And that's very hard to get across to people that are used to visitors all the time, right? Just someone stopping by that I'll never see again. So, one of the things that I practiced doing, especially when I was in Jamaica, was when I stop by and I'm talking to a school, or I'm saying to them, this is just an introduction. This is not the event itself, right? You will see me again. We are just getting started, and that's a huge undertaking because we all have lives. We all have other things we need to do. But for me, it's about making sure that there's some level of continuity, so that the youth can feel like when they wake up that that there's someone right now that's thinking about them, that there are other choices that they can make based on the fact that there's other people that they can engage, right, for additional resources, and and aspire to get beyond where they see themselves currently, and that's really important for me, is that people, especially our youth, have a sense of choice, that they do understand that they do actually have other choices, and the things that they're dreaming about can be a reality through our help, through our partnership.
That's one of the things I enjoy when I'm watching you on the gram, is seeing all the things you do with that endeavor. But I also notice that you often talk about small businesses, Black businesses also. What is your involvement with that?
Well, at least I want to say at least 20 plus years ago, actually, I started working with an organization called Philadelphia Development Partnership, and Chester Micro Enterprise Partnership. So I was working with these organizations, providing some technical assistance to small businesses that would meet, like as a group, as a small group, in groups of say 3 to 5 businesses, and they would charter. They would turn into smaller, I would say, like ecosystems, if you will, where they would lean on each other for levels of support. I would provide them also how to structure themselves, how to charter a small organization, to get them to be more aware of the different components of a larger business, and how boards function, with chair, co-chair, secretary, treasurer, those types of components, a resource officer, so that they started to think more along the lines of a larger business, right? So often entrepreneurs are really solopreneurs, right? And those are individuals that are basically creating a job for themselves. But in doing that, often you stay so close to the work that you're not really thinking about what systems to really put in place so that you can really become an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is someone that has a business, but also has more structure to their business. They start to have some systems and subsystems, if you will, to help them manage it, and then gradually scale that business, or at least step back to a certain extent, and be able to manage the process, not just themselves in that space, right? So, and to remove themselves from being really the chief hunter or the hustler, right? We all hustle on some level. So, how do we remove ourselves from being hustlers, right? Where, again, it's not a negative thing, but the truth of the matter, as a hustler, we do what we need to do in order to make sure that we can, keep the lights on and things of the nature. But we're not doing enough in terms of, how to manage that and then be able to scale it in a way that's healthy, that also, as we desire to do less, right, as we get more mature, that we can actually manage a system, or have a succession plan and other things in place, to really, make sure that we're good in the long haul. So that's part of what my passion, where my passion started over 20 plus years ago. And then Of course, from my 9 to 5 standpoint, being COO of a large nonprofit, faith-based nonprofit,
Mhm.
gave me a lot of insight in terms of how to run different components of an organization, because each component of the organization that we had was definitely a separate business unto itself. So the organization having a preschool, a charter school, a banquet facility, fatherhood program, renewable energy program, pregnant and parenting youth program, workforce development programs, and even mission programs in Africa, 5 different countries,
Mhm.
over 5 acres of land in the city, right? Literally only a couple of minutes away from the center of the city. So managing different properties and dealing with community development projects. So over that 16, close to 17-year period, just having a great deal of experience by way of every aspect of business that you could, think about, from the ideation to, the application to the
Mhm.
execution, to the monitoring, to the modification, right? You can hear me going
Right.
on and on, right? So I got into that space as well. So it helped to further inform me and provide me some additional tools in terms of how to engage other businesses of different sizes when it came to consulting and advising. And then shortly after all of that, in 2019, I took over the African American Chamber of Commerce for
Mhm.
Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, where I had a membership of close to about 500, different business owners in those different spaces, and help them to navigate, of course, and expand the I guess we call it the mission of the organization overall. So that's where a lot of that comes into place. Obviously, as you already know, this thing called COVID has compromised our ecosystem significantly and caused us to have to make some significant adjustments in terms of how we do business, and in many
Absolutely.
ways accelerate how we actually do business day to day as a result of that. So I could not leave businesses that were in that space, just high and dry,
Right.
which led to me creating an organization and business called BBA, Black Business Accelerator. So in that space, I'm able to really champion the healthy development of businesses. Also, of course, the I guess you could call it doing business assessments, right? Helping businesses out to identify where they may have some potential gaps, right? Blind spots. Being a resource officer, helping them create resource maps for their development, being more of an accountability partner, and then of course, when the time is right and everything looks like it's good to go, I'm advocating for that business, right?
Yeah.
To expand, whether it's through the procurement process or strategic planning on how to scale the business up in terms of potential partnerships and things of that nature.
So is the Black Business Accelerator just for those people in Philadelphia and the
Oh
surrounding
no,
areas, or is it nationwide?
oh no, no, Brenda, I don't
I'm
do
just
anything.
asking. I wanted for
I
those
don't I
people
don't
listening, because you say Black Business Accelerator. Some of my listeners will be like, "How do I sign up to get that kind of support?"
Oh yeah, yeah. BBA is no, no. BBA is global. So one thing I did not mention, but I want to make sure I mention is that when in Ghana,
Hmm.
I was participating at in a BBA capacity. So
Wow.
yeah, everywhere I'm at, that's where BBA is also, and I'm looking to you know expand beyond that. So there is not a place and space that BBA cannot function. The goal of BBA is to make sure that all business owners are thinking more in a global space, not thinking just about your backyard or being the best in the city or state, but what are other ways that you can partner with Africa? What are other ways that you can partner in other parts of the world with other strategic partners and stakeholders that are of similar mindset and can expand the brand and allow you to really function in that kind of space where you're not relying on just those that know you or those that
Mhm.
just heard of you, but also those that are strategically placed in other spaces that actually might be more congruent with the audience that you want to engage.
as those of you that are listening or those of you that may watch this later, you can see Donovan is pretty busy, which is why I asked about self-care right off the top, because I'm always in the background saying, hey, Donovan, are you taking care of yourself? Because I see him run fast, run hard, and run everywhere. And with that, then you had the nerve to add relationship coaching to it. Donovan, come on here. What made you want to be a life coach, relationship coach, and deal with people like me that's struggling with managing their personal lives?
Well, Brenda, that's funny that you mentioned that. So I've always been a fan, like a fan of psychology and communication and relationships and things of that nature. It's always fascinated me on, the dynamic in terms of how we show up, how we represent ourselves versus who we actually are. And so in my undergrad years, initially my first major was was psychology, and then I got into philosophy, and it was all about just really how are we showing up, how are we communicating, and what's the root cause of our actions, our behavior, right? And so that's always been the thing for me. About 13 years ago, a colleague of mine that I'd known for some time, came to the conclusion that I really need to be more aggressive about just considering adding this to what I do in my professional space, because they would ask me, some like what my perspective was on certain situations, not giving me, like the actual information about the person, but just what's happening and what could it be, And I enjoyed this tremendously in terms of, creating profiles and proposing, questions and next steps and things of the nature. And so it led to me doing some coaching in that space, relationship coaching, couples coaching, and we would do it from a male-female perspective. So if you were to come in to the practice, you would hear a male and female's perspective on how best to navigate, which was very interesting. Soon after that, there was a radio station that had a show called Whispers in the Dark. And they asked if we could, come up with different topics for the evening and then write an article in that topic. So, what to do when your mate is not, it seems to be a mama's boy or daddy's girl, and is just kind of forgot you, not using, not demonstrating you as a priority, or what to do when, your mate's friends are doing too much, right? So we would come up with these different topics and we wrote on it, and it was great. And then eventually, when my partner was like, I've had enough of that, doing that, because it's a lot of work. I still stayed on to provide some assistance, providing the radio station as like a offsite producer type service and assistance in that space. But I still stayed, with the practice, just providing assistance, another perspective, if you will. Got some certifications so that I can, be, legit, and not just sound like, somebody's uncle, right? So I wanted to do that, and it's great. It's one of the things that I enjoy most, really, because it requires me to do something that I really am a big advocate for. I have a simple philosophy. It's called Listen to Lead, and it is going to be the name of a book that I'm working on right now, and it's going to be a series, and it's going to be a lot of great things. But number one, it's going to help people engage, more in terms of, how they are going to, create the outcomes that they want by way of using the information that's actually being provided to them, right? And so that's where all of that comes from. The desire to really listen in order to lead, and it's not to lead you in terms of, like I'm your boss. No, it's to be a leader, which is to engage and identify a common a common goal or destination, and then leverage each other's gifts towards getting to that goal. And it really takes that level of a collaborative spirit and energy to do that. So in my relationship coaching, my nickname is Hitchmaster. And the
Mhm.
reason for that is because I focus on you. So for those that are listening, no, I'm not, going to hook you up with somebody. No, I don't have a pool of bachelors or bachelorettes to engage with you. No, that's not what I do. I work on you. I focus on what's going on with you, and we tackle a lot of interesting, topics during our journey to just get you to a place of higher awareness, and also put in front of you what the options are in terms of, that you can take to shift your mindset, to shift your belief system in a way that's going to be more beneficial. And so that's where a lot of that comes from, is, from back then, just really wanting to engage people in a way, in a journey, but in a way that's very authentic, not necessarily just hear you and say, okay, you have this condition or this challenge, and that's it. It's a little bit more intricate than that. It's a little bit more nuanced than I would care to say, just haphazardly. Oh yeah, I just do coaching or whatever. There's a strategy to it, and I'm always excited, especially when I do decide, because it's a decision for me as well. As you mentioned, it is about time management. So I do not have a great deal of time, and I am excited that I was able to carve out some time, because at the end of the day, um, I owe it to whoever I'm providing the service for to really be engaged, right? And when you're doing stuff in Ghana and Jamaica and different places, or in all my other endeavors, it's easy to kind of fade into, okay, what to do next in those other spaces. So it's equally, if not more important, that I'm 1,000% present. So that's the reason why, I'm also choosy about how many clients I may engage for this particular, gift set.
You know, if someone was listening now, because COVID forever changed the way we date, especially here in America, we were already on slippery slopes. But now the dating scene is so crazy, which is why I love Wednesdays with Wes, because it allows us the opportunity to hear you talk with your special guests and engage. It's not a talk, it's actually a conversation, and the chat be popping. I love it. So if you're listening or you're watching, if you want to have a blast at 8 p.m. on Wednesdays on Instagram, check out Wednesdays with Wes, and make sure, is it the love script or the life script? I always get it wrong.
It's called the relationship script. So
Thank you.
on Instagram, go to the relationship script, and feel free to send us a message. Send us a message about topics you would like us to cover, or questions you may have. It is one of those ways, again, just going back to time management, right?
Mm-hmm.
I created Wednesdays with Wes as a dedicated hour to just ask me anything, right? Let's just have a conversation. And a lot of times people, struggle with that, especially in the profession. They're like, an hour every week, like, that's a lot. First of all, to encourage people to just ask you any question, and then second of all, to just, the level of dedication. And I've done this now for, I want to say, at least 3 years at this point. But the goal was, again, to just be able to reach more people, and just, get people to use these muscles, right? These muscles of communication, to have more courage, or to demonstrate more courage in terms of expression of yourself, to talk about the tough topics, and to really get into a space where the topics that we cover are topics that perhaps you're willing to cover in your own space, in your own living room or dining room or whatever, right? In your own bedroom, you can feel courageous enough, right? To have that conversation. And for those who may not have someone right now to engage with, well, engage with us, right? And let's talk about it like a family. Is something that I say pretty often. But I'm very happy that you're able to also tune in. And for anyone else that wants to tune in, please do so. The relationship script is the address that you can check us out every Wednesday, no matter where I'm at, by the way, right? So I've done the relationship script from everywhere, from Canada, Jamaica, Atlanta, Miami, Ghana. wherever I'm at, forget the time zone. You don't worry about it. You just show up 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll make the other adjustments, and we'll have a good conversation.
We'll have the information for the relationship script in the description box when we post this. Now, I also want to ask for those that maybe are not bold enough to come have a grown folks conversation with you on Wednesdays with Wes, because it is raw, it is real, it is ready. I know that you also are on a radio station where people can just simply listen to the conversation. What is that radio station? Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. So WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, is on air and online. It's at 96.5 FM in Philadelphia, 900 AM. But the foundation for that is, it's real simple. We talk about love and life. That's what the name of the show is. It's called Love and Life. It's with my lovely co-host Carol Riddick. Some of you may know of her. She actually is as an artist who's performed with all types of other artists, such as like from the Roots to Will Downing and everyone in between. She's an accomplished artist. But we when we're in that space, we keep it as is, no frills, just straight up black and white. We talk about love and life with different guests, both from the professional space as well as those who have just interesting stories to tell. And it's a great show. It comes on at midnight from Sunday through Thursday, and it's just a great show. We have lots of fun on there. Sometimes we are, we'll cover some serious topics as well, but it's all coming from a good space, and I'm just excited to participate in that. So again, you can watch it online as well. So we have past shows, of course, that you can check out. Mm-hmm. WURD Radio has also a presence on Facebook, so you can check it out. It's a Black-owned radio station, so it's great. It's also great to just participate in that space as well.
Well, Donavan, I have 6 questions for you because we're going to tap into Donavan now, and you can either answer the question or say pass. We don't want to put you on the spot, but why not?
Sure.
Here's the first question. What has been your greatest accomplishment to date?
My daughter.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's easy.
Yeah, that was an easy one. Okay. What do you believe is the crucial ingredients to happiness?
The crucial ingredient to happiness is recognizing that it has to come from inside. Okay. So you need to, I'm gonna use your term. You need to tap in. You need to make sure that you're focusing on you, not the things outside. There is a difference between happiness and joy. Happiness often can be achieved externally, but I think the happiness that you're referring to is more like joy, something that dwells within. And so if you want the kind of joy, right, or joy and happiness that really dwells within, that really lasts, you need to deal with yourself. You need to deal with, the challenges, the crisis, the things that you've had to experience, and find ways to get more of yourself back, so that you can be more present and not necessarily focus on these other things. And I do mean things. It can be materialistic things. It can be people that are functioning as entertainment, and not necessarily you that's really participating in your own actual, pursuit of joy and happiness. So it has to start within. Yeah.
Okay. What is a time that you learned something from a failure?
A time that I learned something from my failure. Well, I know that I'll say professionally, there was an opportunity so I was working for a nonprofit where we had to assist with developing a state-of-the-art new facility, like never done in Pennsylvania, 75,000 square feet, public and private venture with John Bon Jovi Foundation, Project Home Foundation, and this project was amazing. I mean, it was 55 affordable housing units to provide residents for previously displaced or just homeless individuals trying to get back on their feet. You know, and where we are developing at is also one of the most highly developed areas in the city. You know, sought after. You know, homes, average homes were 350 to 500K. So here we are with a 75,000 square foot space, green roof, 4,000 square feet of office space, 12,500 square feet of retail space. Again, 55 affordable housing units, but the people that were going to be moving in were people that the community, to some extent, did not want, right? And as an organization that had already been in the community, helped develop the community over 20 something years, you know, it was our way of also ushering in some, you know, making sure that there was balance to the development, right, of that community. So we presented it to get approval by the community, you know, organization, and it got shut down. It got
Mm.
shut down. You know, the amount of people that came out to vote, and you know, the developers and some of the, you know, residents, they shut it down. It was a failure. We were like, wait, what happened?
Mhm.
How did that happen? You know, here we are. We, you know, and so having to go back and listen more to you know, some of the community partners, and also having to reconnect with the community who, you know, we expected to show up but had not maintained um, all the relationships that we needed to, so that they could come out and really support, and really, you know, from a place where they really understand. And so so for me it was about, the lesson was never to assume. So, you know,
Mhm.
you've achieved much, you've been able to do much, but never assume in your next situation that you have the momentum of all those other championships or wins. No, you know, go in with that same humble mindset, to do all the things that you need to do to whip up that, you know, recipe the way it needs to be whipped up. You know, don't start taking any shortcuts or making any assumptions that just because you did great last time, you'll do great this time. Don't make the assumptions. Still put in the work. Still put in the preparation, and then, you know, walk away with your victory.
It'll work. Okay. What is the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
The most adventurous thing I've ever done. Hmm, most adventurous thing I've ever done. I guess I would say one of them would be in Ghana. There are these it's like these planks, if you will, or you know, in the trees. You walk up.
I,
Um,
I saw you on them. You're crazy.
yeah.
I wouldn't have get. They didn't look like they could hold a baby, let alone grown folk.
Well, well, that's the thing. For me, I thought it was extra risky because, you know, you go on this trail for about, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes, just walking all the way up this hill. And then you get into these tall trees and planks, with ropes, and you traverse from one to another, all these little bridges in the sky, if you will. There's about seven of them. And yeah, I'm 6'6". I'm 315 pounds. Um, I'm a big boy. So yeah, walking on those, saying to myself, you know, scientifically speaking, this is extremely risky. Not This is not just a matter of like, oh yeah, everyone's doing it. I'm like, no, I am not the size of most people. So yeah, that part was extremely challenging for me, and I'm not. I definitely do have a fear of heights, so that was one of the more, yeah, challenging things I've ever done.
Well, I saw that and sitting in the safety of my home. I was terrified and thought, he cray cray. So I applaud you for doing it because I'm telling you, I'd have got there and I'd have said, I'll see y'all when y'all get back. And I'd have turned around. No, girlfriend ain't going up on
You
there.
gotta,
My
you
fear of
know,
heights, I understand. You can tell me fear is false evidence appearing real. It's future events already ruined and everything else you can say about it. But Brenda Warren would have turned around and went back. Just saying. Okay, there it
you
is.
gotta face it. You gotta, you know, not. I'm not telling everyone to just, you know, scare yourself to death, but I am saying, you know, you should take an opportunity to examine your fears and see and be courageous enough to face them. A lot of those fears do keep us on the ground. You like how I did that, right? A lot of those
Yeah,
fears keep us grounded, and that's really not the
I
best
like the
place to
ground,
be.
Donovan.
I hear you. I
I
hear
like the
you.
ground.
I hear
Yeah.
you.
Some fears in my life will not be faced. I don't care how good of a counselor, coach, mentor, friend, lover. I don't care what a person is. They are not getting me on that plank bridge and on anything else that's that high in the sky because I just don't do the heights. Not doing
Okay.
it. I'm admitting it on air. I'm not doing it. I can't do it. No, girlfriend can't. Okay, let's move on because we'll be here all day because I'm getting fearful sitting here talking about it. Tell me, with that in mind, what is an issue that you think enough people are not talking about?
I think the issue that not enough people are talking about is mental health. Number one, I think it's the number one issue we don't talk about. I don't think that we as a society have embraced it to the degree that it really needs to be addressed. In terms of the fact that we especially in this COVID compromised environment that we live in,
Mhm.
there's been unprecedented death that's been experienced, financial loss, people that have health issues, political issues, social, and economic drama. Like the combination of things that are happening in this space, it's just a lot. And how we're digesting it, I think is has a lot to deal with what we see as our options to begin with. And for many of us, seeking mental health advice or assistance or things of the nature, it's not on the menu. And I think that's very challenging because you have all of this unprecedented change, and you don't have a system or an infrastructure to lean on to weather those times. So everyone is just doing their own thing. It's like back in the day, when you got sick, you just had a cup of chicken noodle soup and some ginger ale or something, and they were like, "Oh, you're going to be fine." It's like, no. What right now? What you need is some professional assistance, or at least first responders. I would say in the mental and spiritual space to really engage and to unload, to talk and to express about how something can be scary to you, fearful, or to process the loss, to process or properly mourn the change that you've had to make, physically, financially, whatever, to
Absolutely.
really be able to unload that. And I don't believe that we've created a society where uh, we are equipped naturally to create that safe space for one another so that informally we could have that infrastructure and it be enough. I don't think that that's just not something that we learned in school. It's not something we talk about as a family typically about creating a safe space for people to be able to be themselves and not walk around with that facade. So I think that's the number one thing that's not being talked about. The other thing I think is not just being addressed often is just, the idea of acceptance, right? So being transparent enough in terms of who you are and what your values are and what makes you, I think that in itself too, that's a form of mental health, but feeling comfortable enough to do that. We're such a judgmental society. We're pointing fingers and evaluating one another, being very critical, and I don't think it creates a kind of space where authenticity can really live and breathe, right? So, so I'll get off my soapbox, but those are the things that I think, yeah.
All right, I have one final question. Donovan, how are all the things that you do that are often, we haven't even touched everything you do. You think, I do know that, and my listeners will have to check in again next time we talk with you to find out all the other things because there is much more. How does what you do help you live your life, your best life now?
Well, I enjoy making an impact. It makes me stutter as you hear me stutter just thinking about it.
Mhm.
I really enjoy making an impact. I enjoy connecting. I enjoy meaningful connections. I enjoy, legacy living. It means a lot. I was going on I did a walk the other day. A good friend of mine who represents the Office of Black Male Engagement. He created an event called the Brothers Stroll, and it's just when a bunch of brothers come together and they go for long walks, and it might be in the community or it might be at a park or whatever, but get together, and it's to help stimulate camaraderie, more transparency, deal with mental health, um, health overall, right? And I remember running into a gentleman who repeated something that I said at an event about 3.5, 4 years ago, and just the feeling of like the fact that he then began to talk about how what I shared helped to change the trajectory of his life, and that meant the world to me. So it's less about the revenue, um, and income. You need that though.
Right.
I need that. I'm a father. I need that. Don't get it twisted.
Right.
But it's so much more about the impact. It's so much more about the legacy, being able to live it, not leave it. Like you got to
Right.
live a legacy. Don't just leave a legacy. So I enjoy serving. I enjoy being impactful, being relevant, and the diverse ways that I approach the space. Where I might be over here one day and over here somewhere else, and the different partnerships. It's just the seasoning. It's just the color to life that I like. That I like to see. And I believe that if all of us are courageous enough, we can have some form of it that is more reflective of who we are versus what's so safe, right?
Right.
Nothing against those that are in that space. I just think, again, as you talk about tapping in, just having the courage to say, no, what's really you, right? Who are
Mm-hmm.
you really? And what really drives you? And have you done that kind of, or taken that kind of introspection to tap into your real purpose and all the amazing ways that you can show up here, right? So uh, removing ourselves from that culture of assimilation to more of a spiritual and purposeful acculturation, right? Where we show up in our distinctive ways that are more reflective of who we actually are, and where it intersects with our ability to make a living, but also make an impact.
Donovan, chalk it up to my mind and not my heart. But I don't want to alienate many of your fans by failing to ask you about something that you do that is so impactful, that is so relevant, and is, from what I hear, off the chain fun. Hashtag big man culture. you know, there's been so many events that I've seen online that are happening all over. And if you just want to briefly tell us a little bit about that, because we can't get off here, because I know someone's going to say, Brenda, why didn't you mention big man culture? And I ain't trying to get slapped. So could you tell us about that before we
We
go?
don't we don't want no drama, so
No drama.
we're going to talk about big man culture. Big man culture is the brainchild of my colleague, my partner, Michael Moss, and
Big
big man
man.
culture. That's right. That's my bro. It started off as a line of clothing. He's a tailor, but he's more than that. He's an influencer, and we teamed up to talk about big man culture in terms of all the things that it is. So it's a way of life. It's a way of life. It's not just exclusive to big men, but it was the focus was big men because a lot of big and tall men actually had very or still do very small resources, very small amount of resources to express themselves in terms of their clothing, right? And so having access to different colors and designs and things of the nature that's more reflective of your style, your swag, right? What you bring to the table is what big man culture does. But also, it's about camaraderie. It's about talking about all the different challenges, especially that plus size men have, but then also now being more inclusive, right? Just talking about as men being able to communicate and express, as men being able to be more, I would say, aggressive about how we show up in the community, right? As leaders, as mentors, as fathers, brothers, uncles, right? So big man culture is about that. It's about really creating more dimension to what is the current narrative about, especially plus size men. So when we decided to do the check-ins or the meetups, as you call it, it was just another creative way to just do something that you don't see often, right? So we started off in Atlanta, and then the following one was in Philadelphia, and then the more recent one was in Houston, and the next one is in DC. So we're just hopping around, connecting with other people in those different spaces, and say, hey, come out. There's no agenda. We're not here to sell you anything, so don't worry about it. You're not going to start getting advertisements for big man culture or anything like that. It's just to come out and say, hey, hi, I see you. How are you? So a little bit of face to face action, right? And to connect. So guys and girls, come out. Bring your business cards or not. It's really just an opportunity just to connect without all of the rigmarole. All the what do you call it? The frills and angles. There's no catch to just literally us connecting again. Now, as for 2023, we have some other great things that are going to be coming up that you just got to stay tuned in for. But if you want to check out Big Man Culture on Instagram, you can do that, or Facebook. It's literally those words, Big Man Culture, and you should be able to catch it. And yeah, perhaps we may see you, at a town near you. Maybe we have some discussions right now about North Carolina, potentially the first weekend, the first Friday in December. But we're kicking that around right now. Logistically speaking, we have, Mike's also extremely busy as well. So we just try to make it work and not make it too much work, right?
That's a good thing. Now, if someone wanted to connect with you, Donavan, how do they do it on Instagram or Facebook or a website?
Sure. So on Instagram, you can catch up with me at Donavan S. West. That's DONAVAN, S as in Sam, West. Or you can, as we mentioned earlier, my relationship script page, The Relationship Script, all right? And you spell that TheRelationScript, okay? The Relationship Script. And you could also find us on Facebook as well. And for those of you that are on LinkedIn, absolutely Donavan S. West on LinkedIn. And I look forward to having some dialogue and being of service if I can.
Well, thank you, Donavan. We're going to put all that in the description so that you can be sure to connect with Donavan. But those of you that watched before know it's time to tap in. How do you tap into Donavan? Well, first, you change your mindset, realizing that like him, you too can do it all if you choose to. But if you want to have a relationship that'll make you say, ooh, wee, you're going to have to contact Donavan in some of those things we leave in the link. You need to announce to yourself that you're ready to have the relationship of a lifetime, that you're ready to move your business to the next level, that you're ready and able to scale up. You're going to have to prepare to do it. And how do you prepare? You go to one of those websites, you go to his Black Business Accelerator, you go to his Chamber of Commerce, you go somewhere, anywhere that Donavan is hanging out, and you're sure to see yourself moving to the next level. After that, you imagine what your life is going to be like when you change your mindset. You make the announcement, you prepare to make that move, and you begin to live your best life now, tapping into the genius that Donavan is going to help you release. And then finally, you nurture all of that and you live your best life now. What is now? No opportunity wasted. I would be remiss if I don't ask my guests, do you have any parting thoughts before you leave today, Donavan?
My number one thought is to do exactly what you said. Take some time with yourself. Take some time with yourself. Do not create what I would call positive distractions that make you feel like, yes, just because you're doing something, you may very well be doing something. You may very well be busy, but why don't you be productive with yourself? Be productive with yourself, right? Don't just be busy. So we all can get busy, but we all can't be productive in terms of finding our purpose, and be courageous to do that. Sometimes if you find out what your purpose is, it might be a bit scary. The idea that you can be that might be scary, overwhelming, but it doesn't change the fact that that's who you actually are. And so finding out ways that you can be that in small portion and then let it grow. But start somewhere. Remember something, that we're all literally, you could say we are all just masses of something that started off small. All of us, whether it was a baby and look at you now, or whether you want to go before that and talk about how you were just a cell, right? A zygote, right? At some point you started off small and now look at you. That's the same thing, same way we should look at everything else. It can start small, it's fine. Over time and with nurturing, right? That end part, right, of tapping in with some nurturing, you too could be something big. There it is.
Well, thank you, Donovan, for joining me here on the show. Talk to me. You heard it here. Be productive with yourself. And don't forget to check out Wednesdays with Wes at 8 p.m. Eastern on Instagram at The Relationship Script. Be there because we have some great conversations. You don't want to miss it, y'all. It is hot and I love it. I'm here for it. I get my popcorn. I get my drink. I have my feet up. I am ready to listen and participate. So come on out and join us on Wednesdays with Wes at 8 p.m. Eastern on Instagram on The Relationship Script. And remember, the choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. So choose wisely. Be blessed, everyone.